This video is brought to you by Chubbies. Go to chubbyshorts.com and use code Dan Murrell to get 20% off your order, and stay tuned after the video for more info. Hello everybody, and welcome to my look at the Screen Actors Guild and Directors Guild of America nominations, which are two key predecessors to the Academy Awards and actually might give us a little bit of insight into who could get the Oscar nominations. Before I jump into those nominations, though, I want to briefly address the tragedy that's unfolding in Los Angeles with the wildfires that were whipped by insanely high winds. There are numerous parts of Los Angeles that are being devastated, that are still on fire, with firefighting crews struggling to contain those fires. It's been just heartbreaking to watch on television. I was in Los Angeles last week seeing friends. I was there for New Year's and my birthday, and it was great to return to a place that was home for me for 15 years. And so to see all of the devastation, and I'm sure there's more to come as more pictures come out, is really sad to watch. So, this is awards season. It's important in Hollywood terms, but this is a good reminder of what important really means, and my heart goes out to everybody in Los Angeles who's been affected by this terrible natural disaster. Having said that, let's make the tough transition to awards talk, which I think has been put into some proper perspective today, and start with the nominations that were released this morning by the Screen Actors Guild. They were put out via press release. The live announcement was canceled due to the wildfires in LA, and I think that there were more surprises in the nominations than there weren't surprises. But let's start with the category that I think had the least surprising nominees, and those are the nominations for Best Male Actor in a Leading Role: Adrien Brody in The Brutalist, Timothée Chalamet in A Complete Unknown, Daniel Craig in Queer, Coleman Domingo in Sing Sing, and Ralph Fiennes in Conclave. They are what I would consider to be the five frontrunners, or the five expected Oscar nominees, and there really wasn't anything here to shake that up. I was disappointed, to be honest, that Sebastian Stan was not recognized for his role in either A Different Man or The Apprentice, because I think he put in two of the best leading performances of the year. That's not to say anything bad about the performances that were nominated. I've seen those films. I think that they are all fine performances, very good work by the actors, but I just wish that Sebastian Stan had found a way to jump into that race. But here's where the surprises start. Outstanding performance by a female actor in a leading role: Pamela Anderson in The Last Showgirl, Cynthia Erivo in Wicked, Carla Sofia Gascon in Amelia Perez, Mikey Madison in Honora, and Demi Moore in The Substance. And I think this is really where the Best Actress race is continuing to turn into an intriguing Oscar race. Mikey Madison has been a lock, I think, for a while now. Demi Moore is somebody who's really come on strong. I think a few weeks ago, this would have been more of a surprise, but the fact that she has been able to get the Golden Globe, the fact that she has kind of been climbing the list, or climbing the charts, if you will, when it comes to the Best Actress race. I'm happy to see her here. The Substance was my favorite movie last year, but I think it's a bit less of a surprise than it would have been previously. And then Carla Sofia Gascon, not a surprise. Amelia Perez has been a very strong awards season movie, and I think you could say that her nomination was expected. Cynthia Erivo for Wicked, I think, is interesting because many people think that she might be on the bubble as far as the Best Actress race goes, because there are really, I would say, 8 or 9 performances that are in what would be deemed serious contention for an Oscar nomination. I think that Cynthia Erivo making the SAG cut really increases their chances that she could see an Oscar nomination. Because keep in mind, the SAG Awards, which are voted by the union members in SAG-AFTRA, do have a considerable overlap with the people that vote for the Academy Awards. So it's not always one-to-one who gets a SAG Award nomination or who gets an Academy Award nomination. But I do think that looking at the actors' nominations does give you kind of an insight into how part of the Academy might be thinking. And Cynthia Erivo and Wicked had a very strong showing in these nominations. So I think that this really, I'm not going to say locks it in, but makes it much more likely that she's going to be in the final 5 at the Academy Awards. But the real wild card here is Pamela Anderson in The Last Showgirl. I thought that she was great in the movie, but I did not anticipate that she would get the SAG Award nomination because there's so many performances like Marianne Jean-Baptiste in Hard Truths, Nicole Kidman in Baby Girl, Fernanda Torres in I'm Still Here, that I thought might have been ahead of her in in line. So the fact that Pamela Anderson did make the cut, I think is great for her. I love that it adds to her comeback story. It definitely increases her chance to get nominated for the Academy Award. But I think what we really see here with the Oscars is 3, and I would say maybe 4 people that I'm relatively confident are going to make the final list. And then a 5th spot that's just a wild card. I don't think that this really clarifies who's going to be the 5th Best Actress nominee at the Oscars, but I'm very happy to see that Pamela Anderson is at least going to get continued recognition for her performance. If you're going to look at somebody who had the biggest downside of this, I would say it's Angelina Jolie, who for a while was considered to be almost a lock for her role in Maria, but now I think might be on the outside looking in because there's not a whole lot of indications that she's building any momentum. The supporting performances is where it gets really wacky, though. Outstanding performance by a male actor in a supporting role, Jonathan Bailey in Wicked, who really hasn't been on anybody's radar when it comes to mainstream award nominations, Yura Borisov for Anora, Kieran Culkin for A Real Pain, Edward Norton in A Complete Unknown, and Jeremy Strong in The Apprentice. And yeah, Jonathan Bailey, a big surprise here for me. Even with all of the acclaim that Wicked has received, I haven't really seen his name pop up too much when we talk about the actors that could get individual nominations. It's mainly been focused on Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande. So the fact that Jonathan Bailey pops up here says to me that the actors branch at the Academy, or at least the overlap between the actors branch and SAG-AFTRA, doesn't just like Wicked, they love Wicked. The alarm bells, I think, really have to start going off for The Brutalist, because Guy Pearce is considered by many, or has been, to be a virtual lock for an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor, and yet he does not make the cut here with the SAG-AFTRA Awards, or with the SAG Award. And I think that it may be, when I was talking about the Golden Globe, Brady Corbet in his speech said this is a 3.5-hour movie about, an architect, a Holocaust survivor. It's not exactly mainstream. I wonder if what we're seeing here is that The Brutalist either is a movie that is not as strong with voters as it has been with a lot of critics, or quite frankly, could be a movie that people just aren't making the time for. I know that sounds terrible to speculate about, but this is reality. And all awards voters don't watch all of the movies, and if they're picking and choosing what movie to watch, they might not be making the time to see The Brutalist. I hope that that's not the case, and I hope that Academy voters, if that's the case with SAG Award voters, are not making that same mistake. But I was surprised to not see Guy Pearce here, and I think it shows a sign that at least with the Guild Awards, The Brutalist is not necessarily in a position of strength. Denzel Washington did not make the cut for Gladiator 2. He is a big favorite generally for the actors and the acting awards, so I think that might be a little bit instructive that he is slipping a little bit further down the list for the Best Supporting Actor Oscar nomination. And then Clarence Macklin for Sing Sing also did not make the cut. And I've said this before, I think you have to squarely put this on A24. A24 has really been pushing The Brutalist. They have several other movies that are in awards contention, but I think they absolutely bungled everything to do with Sing Sing. They dumped it in a few theaters back in August and then took it out of theaters. Now they're wanting to say that they want to put it back in theaters, but I don't think that this movie has the buzz that it should have. And if I were Clarence Macklin or the people behind Sing Sing, I would be giving A24 a call and saying like, hey, what am I, chopped liver? Because I think this is an indication that A24 has not positioned Sing Sing for success. Yes, Coleman Domingo got the nomination, but the movie hasn't really shown much breakout beyond that. It's interesting because the supporting categories, as far as who the winner is going to be, I think are as locked in as any other categories for this show and for the Oscars. For supporting actor example, I think that Kieran Culkin is pretty much a lock to win. But right now, if we're looking at nominations, and if we're going to go to Oscar nominations, he's really the only one that I have ultimate confidence will be nominated, especially with the shakeup here. Edward Norton, I think, is really gaining a lot of momentum, and A Complete Unknown was a big favorite among the SAG Award voters. But it's crazy. I honestly don't know which way this category is going to go, and I'm fine with that. I actually like that there's a bit of a question mark when we come to Oscar nominations. In the outstanding performance by a female actor in a supporting role, this one also got very unexpected. Monica Barbaro was nominated for A Complete Unknown, along with Jamie Lee Curtis for The Last Showgirl, Danielle Deadwyler for The Piano Lesson, Ariana Grande for Wicked, and Zoe Saldana for Emilia Perez. Zoe Saldana and Ariana Grande are really the only two here that I would say are expected. I think the rest of the nominations show that the supporting actress category is very fluid right now. Jamie Lee Curtis was the biggest surprise in this group for me, and I think it shows that The Last Showgirl has some strength beyond just wanting to recognize Pamela Anderson for a good performance. I think it shows that the voters liked the movie itself and wanted to extend that to other actors. Danielle Deadwyler for The Piano Lesson, that's somebody, when you look at the precursors or whatever else you want to call them, that people have thought might be losing a little bit of steam, a little bit of momentum, but her inclusion here, I think, really resuscitates her outlook for the Academy Awards. And then we have Monica Barbro's nomination for A Complete Unknown. Along with Wicked, A Complete Unknown has shown a lot of momentum here with these nominations, and maybe it's not surprising that those are the two breakouts, but I think that that definitely increases her chances at the Oscars. I think she's been sort of a fringe contender for a lot of people. And then some of the people that people thought were going to be locks for nominations, Isabella Rossellini, who is considered to be a sentimental favorite. Personally, I never really considered her much of a contender for my own sake for supporting actress, because I thought that she was good in Conclave, but I thought that it was a very small role and I would have given those nominations to other actors. Margaret Qualley being left out for The Substance disappoints me, again, as a big fan of the movie, but I also recognize that there are a lot of great performances to choose from. But again, when we talk about The Brutalist, Felicity Jones being left out shows, I think, some weakness, much like Guy Pearce being left out earlier for the movie itself. We're not seeing a huge push of support for The Brutalist. It might be because it was a bit of a latecomer, and you never know. Oscar voters could think completely differently, but again, because there is so much overlap and because the acting branch is such a big part of the Academy Awards, I do like to look at the SAG Awards to notice trends, and that's what I'm seeing a bit for The Brutalist. Even though it did well at the Golden Globes, I think that it's seeing a bit of a downward trend when we're looking at the Oscars and some of the other awards. The nominees for Outstanding Performance by a Cast in a Motion Picture were A Complete Unknown, Anora, Conclave, Emilia Perez, and Wicked. Once again, no nomination for The Brutalist here, and I think that that is somewhat instructive. And then the nominations for Outstanding Action Performance by a Stunt Ensemble in a Motion Picture were Deadpool and Wolverine, Dune Part 2, The Fall Guy, Gladiator 2, and again, Wicked. And, you know, nothing against the, I'm sure, very talented stunt people in Wicked, but when I think of great stunt performers and stunt performances of 2024, Wicked is not one of the first movies that comes to mind. But the SAG Award voters love Wicked, and when you talk about movies that did get multiple nominations, Wicked led the film nominees with 5, followed by A Complete Unknown with 4, Anora and Emilia Perez both got 3, and then Conclave and The Last Showgirl both got 2 nominations. And rather than clarifying the awards picture, I think the SAG Awards just kind of muddied it up a bit. This has been one of the murkiest prognostication environments that I can remember for the Oscars, which again, I'm not complaining. I actually don't mind that. I think it's boring when the people you expect to win or get nominated are always the ones that do get nominated. If you're looking for a front runner right now, I think that the closest thing that we've got currently is Emilia Perez, because it hasn't underperformed significantly really anywhere that it's gone so far along the circuit. And there really hasn't been a strong contender that's been rising up and saying, hey, you know, this could be a serious threat. At worst, I think that Emilia Perez is on equal footing as a frontrunner with movies like Anora and maybe even The Brutalist. And who knows, Wicked, you could perhaps even throw in there as well. And I think that adds a little bit of suspense and drama to Academy Awards season. We will see what the other guilds have to say. We'll see what happens at the Critics' Choice Awards and all these other things. But I think it's a wide open race in many respects as Oscar voting begins. Oscar voting started today and will supposedly run until the end of the week. We'll see if those timelines are changed due to the fires in Los Angeles. But with Oscar voting for nominations underway, I don't think that we've got really a clear picture on many of the categories here. The Directors Guild of America also announced their feature film nominations today. The 5 directors nominated for Best Directing for a Feature Film were Jacques Audiard for Emilia Perez, Sean Baker for Anora, Edward Berger for Conclave, Brady Corbet for The Brutalist, and James Mangold for A Complete Unknown. John M. Chu did not make the cut for Wicked, nor did Coralie Farge for The Substance. The real surprise for me here is that James Mangold did make the cut, and in addition to what I would deem an overperformance at the SAG Awards, the DGA nomination for James Mangold says to me that A Complete Unknown is a movie that may be playing perhaps better than expected with awards voters. If you were going to ask me to pick a movie that I think had the biggest boost to its awards chances at the Oscars today, I would pick A Complete Unknown because I didn't expect Mangold to make that top 5, and yet there he is. It was somewhat disappointing for me that the picks for Best Director were so conventional, if you will. I don't think that there was really a whole lot of thinking outside the box there, but that's just the way that it shook out. And to be honest, much like some of the acting categories, there are several directors that did very good work that didn't get nominated either. For example, Denis Villeneuve, not a Best Director nominee from the DGA for Dune Part 2. There was a lot of directing talent out there and a lot of really good movies. And as I said, when I was picking my own favorites for 2024, this is an odd year in that I only had 1 or 2 films that I would say were my absolute favorites, and probably 20 or 25 movies that were all on pretty much equal footing. I think that's what we're seeing with the awards as well, and that gives it a flair for the unpredictable. Finally, we got some great names to put on our radar with the nominations for the Michael Apted First Time Theatrical Feature Film Award. Those nominees were Payal Kapadia for All We Imagine Is Light, Megan Park for My Old Ass, Ramel Ross for Nickel Boys, Halfdan Ulman Tondel for Armand, and Sean Wang for Didi. I have not seen Armand, but I have seen the other 4 films. All We Imagine Is Light was on my personal top 10, and I think that they all showed real talent as directors. And so this is an award that I think is going to be very competitive because they all did very good work, and I'm definitely going to seek out Armand now because if the director of that film is with the company of the other directors whose movies I have seen, then I'm guessing it's probably a pretty good movie. So those are my thoughts on the SAG Award and Directors Guild Award nominations. What do you think? Did it put anything in your crystal ball when it comes to the Academy Awards that you think I might have missed? Or do you think it's as unpredictable as I do? Let me know down in the description below. And before we go, I'm going to thank the sponsor for this video, Chubbies. The holidays are over and winter has set in, at least it has in my snowy little town. And this is the perfect time to kick back, relax, and lounge around the house while recovering from all that holiday craziness. And Chubbies is here for that because they don't just make great shorts and swimsuits, they also make great pants, like their everywhere pants. I've been wearing them a lot lately because they combine the comfort of sweatpants with the look of not being judged for wearing sweatpants all the time. And if your New Year's resolution is to hit the gym, Chubbies also makes great ultimate training shorts with split side seams and an extended liner to make sure that your 2 to 4 weeks of working out will be comfortable and luxurious. Heck, they may even keep you in the gym until Valentine's Day. And don't forget that Chubbies also has NFL gear for the postseason featuring playoff teams like the Bills, Buccaneers, Chiefs, Eagles, Steelers, Vikings, Lions, and Broncos, with all the teams coming later this year. Chubbies is here to help you take on 2025 in style, starting with the comfiest, most versatile gear you've ever worn. For a limited time, our friends at Chubbies are giving viewers and listeners of the show 20% off with the promo code Dan Murrell at checkout at chubbyshorts.com. That's 20% off your order with the promo code Dan Murrell. And don't forget to support the show and tell them that I sent you. No matter where the new year takes you, Chubbies has the gear to keep you comfortable and looking your best. Thanks to Chubbies for sponsoring this video, and thanks to everyone for watching. I'm sending all of my love and best hopes to everybody out in LA who's affected by what's going on right now. Be sure to stay tuned right here for more movie news, reviews, box office, awards analysis, and more. Until next time, please stay safe, and I'll see you then. Bye.